Welcome to Session 2 of Linux Foundations. Today we're diving into your first terminal, and this is genuinely a pivotal moment in your journey as a Linux user. Here's the thing. There's a fundamental difference between clicking through menus and actually operating a system. The terminal is where that difference becomes crystal clear. It's how you talk to Linux directly, without any graphical intermediaries getting in the way. Throughout this session, we'll work through 6 live demonstrations and cover 9 essential commands. By the end, you'll have practical, hands-on experience that transforms how you interact with Linux. So let's get started. Alright, so here's what we're building toward today. By the end of this session, you'll have 5 concrete, practical skills, and the really important bit is that I'm going to demonstrate every single one of them live in your Ubuntu virtual machine. First, you'll learn to open the terminal itself. There are actually 3 different ways to do it, plus a keyboard shortcut you'll want to memorize because you'll use it constantly. Then we'll decode that prompt you see, understand where you actually are in the file system, navigate around directories, and finally, here's the key. Learn how to read the manual instead of just memorizing random flags. That's the difference between being a user and being someone who actually understands the system. Great, so here's how we're going to structure this session. Each concept we cover will be immediately followed by a hands-on exercise in the terminal. This keeps things practical and concrete. We've got 6 exercises lined up. First, we'll open the terminal itself. Then we'll figure out where you are in the system using pwd, whoami, and hostname. Next, we'll explore your home folder with the ls command in different variations. After that, we'll learn to navigate around using cd. Then we'll keep things tidy by clearing the terminal. And finally, we'll look at how to get help using manual pages. Each exercise builds on the last, so by the end, you'll have solid command line fundamentals. Alright, so the natural question everyone asks is, why bother with the terminal at all? I've got a nice desktop with windows and icons, why type? Let me walk you through 4 solid reasons. First, it's faster. One line replaces a dozen clicks, and it works identically on every machine you use. Second, it's more powerful. Commands chain together in ways graphical tools simply can't anticipate. Third, it's repeatable. Save a command into a script, and it runs identically 8,000 times, no variation. But here's the argument that really ends the discussion. Most Linux servers have no graphical desktop installed whatsoever. When you SSH into a cloud instance, the terminal isn't one option among many, it's the entire interface. Learning this isn't optional if you're working with servers. Now let me show you the mental model, how the terminal actually works. It's really just a 4-beat conversation that repeats every single time. First, you type a command. The shell sits there waiting at that prompt until you hit enter. Then it interprets what you typed, figures out which program you meant and what options you gave it. Next, Linux executes it. The kernel does the real work on your files, processes, or hardware. Finally, the result comes back, either output, an error message, or silence, which actually means success. Look at this example on the right. 3 characters, ls, produced a complete inventory of the folder. The prompt returns, ready for your next instruction. That's it. That's the whole dance. Alright, so now let's actually open the terminal and see this in action. I'm going to walk you through this step by step. First, log into the Ubuntu desktop. Then press Ctrl plus Alt plus T. That's the quickest way to open a terminal window. You'll see it pop up in your home directory with that prompt ready to go. Now, if that shortcut doesn't work for some reason, you've got alternatives. You can press the super key, type terminal, and hit enter. Or just right-click the desktop. Once it's open, we can adjust the text size. Use Ctrl plus Shift plus plus to make it bigger. Ctrl plus Shift plus minus to shrink it. Or Ctrl plus O to reset. Leave the window open at the prompt. Nothing typed yet. We're ready to start issuing commands. Great. So now that you've got your terminal open, let's decode what you're actually looking at. That prompt, student at Ubuntu, $, it's packed with information, and understanding it is crucial. See the first part, student. That's your username, who you're logged in as. Everything you create belongs to this account. Next, Ubuntu is your machine's host name, super useful when you're juggling multiple servers. The tilde, that little squiggle, is shorthand for your home directory, home, student. It'll change as you navigate around. And finally, that $sign? It tells you you're a regular user. If you ever see a hash symbol instead, that means you're root, and you need to slow down and think carefully before typing anything. Alright, so the first command we're going to run is pwd, print working directory. Here's the thing. Linux always has you standing somewhere in the file system. Every command you run operates from that location by default. So the very first question you should ask yourself is always, where am I? When you type pwd, you get back the full path to your current location. In this example, the student user gets home student. Notice how that path reads left to right, from general to specific, like an address. The slash at the start is your root, the country. Then home, then student. This is actually crucial because the exact same command in a different directory produces completely different results. That's where most beginner confusion starts, running the right command in the wrong place. Alright, so now we're going to run through a live demonstration. I want you to follow along in your Ubuntu VM. We're going to execute 4 commands that will answer the question, where am I? First, type pwd and press enter. Then whoami. Then hostname. And finally, echo $home. After you've run all 4 commands, I want you to compare the outputs with the prompt itself. Notice something interesting. Whoami matches the username before the @ symbol in your prompt, and hostname matches the system name after the @. Plus, that tilde symbol in your prompt, that's actually shorthand for your home directory, the same location as home student. Finally, type clear to clean up your screen. Great, so now that you know where you are, the next logical question is, what's actually in here? And that's what the ls command answers. The beauty of ls is that it has several options that completely change what information you get back. We've got 4 main variants here. First, plain ls just gives you names in columns, super fast when you just need a quick peek at what exists. Then lsl shows the long format, 1 item per line with all the juicy details. Permissions, owner, file size, and modification date. LSA reveals hidden files, those .dot files that are usually configuration files. And LSLH makes file sizes human readable, showing 4.0K or 2.3 M instead of raw byte counts. Notice that last tip. You can stack these flags together. LA and LA are identical. Almost every Linux command works this way. Alright, let's actually do this together in the Ubuntu VM. We're going to explore your home folder using different ls commands. First, run plain ls. Just look at those folder names: desktop, documents, downloads, music, pictures, public, templates, videos. Next, lsl shows you 1 row per item. Follow across those columns, you'll see permissions, owner, group, file size, date, and the name. Then lsa Reveals hidden files. Notice those entries starting with a dot? The dot and double dot are special directory references, and files like bashrc and config are hidden configuration files. Combine them with lsl to see everything at once. Finally, lslh makes file sizes human readable. Compare that 4.0K with the 4096 bytes from step 2. Much easier to read, right? Then clear your screen to start fresh. Now let's talk about moving around, the cd command. This stands for change directory, and here's the thing, it's deliberately silent. If nothing gets printed, congratulations, you moved successfully. Your prompt is your confirmation. Let me show you the 5 most useful variations. CD Documents takes you into a folder. CD goes up 1 level to the parent directory. CD tilde downloads jump straight there from anywhere using the tilde. Plain CD takes you home. And CD- takes you back to wherever you were last. Now, notice the box on the right, relative versus absolute paths. Documents is relative. It only works from your current location. But home, student, documents is absolute. It works from anywhere because it starts from the root. And here are 4 symbols you absolutely need to memorize. Tilde is home, dot is current directory, dot is up 1 level, and slash is the root. Alright, let's actually do this. We're going to navigate the file system together, and I want you to follow along in your Ubuntu VM. First, we'll run pwd to see where we are, then ls to list what's there. Next, we'll practice tab completion, type cd doc and hit tab. And watch it fill in documents for you. Then we'll run pwd again to confirm our new location. We'll go back up 1 level with cd dot. Jump into downloads and come back. Now here's the important bit, step 6. We're intentionally going to make a typo. Type cd documents, which is wrong. You'll get an error message. Then retype it correctly, but this time use tab to autocomplete it. Notice how tab fixes your mistake. Finally, cd on its own always takes you home. Let's do this. Alright, so we've been navigating around, and by now your terminal screen is probably getting pretty cluttered. Here's something simple but powerful, the clear command. After a dozen or so commands, your screen becomes this wall of text where it's genuinely hard to tell which output belongs to which command. Clearing costs you nothing. Now, here's what's important to understand. Clear doesn't delete anything. Your previous output gets scrolled out of view, but if you scroll up, it's still there. Your command history is completely untouched. Press the up arrow and every command you typed is still available. The faster way? Use Ctrl L instead. It works mid-line too, so you don't lose what you're typing. Make this a habit between every task. One command, one result on an empty screen is so much easier to read than the last 20 commands stacked on top of each other. Alright, so we're doing a live demo now. I want you to follow along in your Ubuntu VM. Here's what we're going to do step by step. First, run pwd. ls date and whoami. In turn, just to see some output. Then run lsl to fill up the rest of the screen. Now run clear to wipe it clean. Then run date and whoami again. After that, press Ctrl L. It does the exact same thing as clear. But without needing to hit enter. Now here's the important bit. Press the up arrow 6 times to walk back through your command history. you'll see those commands come back. Finally, scroll the window up. Notice anything? All that earlier output is still there. Clear didn't delete it, it just scrolled it up. Your history is preserved. Alright, so here's the thing. Every command you run in Linux comes with built-in documentation. You don't need to memorize every single flag. Nobody does. Experienced users just look them up when they need them. To access a command's manual, you type man followed by the command name. So for ls, you'd type man ls. Inside the manual, you can navigate with the arrow keys to move line by line, press space to jump a full page forward, or use / followed by a word to search through it. Press N to find the next match, and Q to quit back to your prompt. Now, if you just want a quick summary without scrolling through the entire manual, you can use the -- help flag instead. That's much faster when you're in a hurry. Alright, so now we're actually going to practice using manual pages together. This is live demo 6, and you can follow along in your Ubuntu VM. Here's what we're going to do step by step. First, we'll run man pwd and look at the name section to understand what the command does. Then we'll quit using Q. Next, we'll run man ls to see its manual. We'll scroll through using the space key multiple times. Then here's the cool part. We'll search for the word hidden by typing a /, then stepping through the matches with N. Finally, we'll compare the manual page with ls help to see how they differ. Alright, so now let's talk about 3 habits that will make you genuinely faster at the terminal. And I want to emphasize something important. These aren't commands you memorize. They're keystrokes, muscle memory stuff, and honestly, they'll transform how the terminal feels within a single afternoon. First, tab completion. Type the first few letters of a file or folder, hit tab, and the shell finishes it for you. If it's ambiguous, it beeps, so hit tab twice to see your options. This prevents most typing errors before they even happen. Second, the up and down arrows. They walk you back through your history. Edit what you want and press enter instead of retyping the whole thing. Note that history survives a clear command, they're separate. And third, Ctrl C. It stops whatever's running and gets you back to the prompt safely. Nothing breaks. It's your escape hatch for anything that looks frozen. Alright, let's shift gears and talk about troubleshooting, because let's be honest, things won't always work on the first try, and that's completely normal. The good news is that Linux error messages are terse but honest. And here's the thing. 4 specific errors cover nearly everything you'll encounter as a beginner. So let me walk you through each one. When you see no such file or directory, the name simply doesn't exist where you think it is. Run ls to see what's actually there, then pwd to confirm your location. Command not found usually means a typo. Remember, Linux is case sensitive, else is not the same as ls. Or the program just isn't installed. Permission denied means the file belongs to someone else or is protected. Use lsl to check ownership. Not a directory means you tried to cd into something that's actually a file, not a folder. And finally, nothing happens at all. The command is still running. Just press Ctrl C to cancel and get your prompt back. Alright, so before we wrap up, I want you to take a screenshot of this slide right now. This is your reference sheet, bookmark it, save it, whatever works for you. Here you have 9 essential commands and 3 critical keystrokes that make up everything we've covered today. On the left, you've got your navigation and information commands, pwd, ls with its variations, cd for movement, clear, and whoami. On the right, the utilities you'll constantly reach for. And remember, man cmd is your best friend. When you're stuck, that manual page has the answers. Keep this handy, and you'll navigate the terminal like a pro. Alright, now it's time to put everything together with a challenge lab. This is where you work through these tasks in your own virtual machine. No scrolling back through the slides, no help menus. You need to open the terminal using a keyboard shortcut, display your current directory, list files including hidden ones, navigate into documents and confirm where you are. Return home in a single command, and finally clear the screen, then open and quit the LS manual. There's also a bonus challenge. Complete the entire list without touching your mouse after the terminal opens. Use tab completion and the up arrow key to speed things up. And here's your success check. If you can confidently move between 3 directories and always know where you are without guessing, you're ready for our file system tour in the next session. Excellent work getting through that challenge lab. Now that you're comfortable moving around the Linux file system, it's time to understand what you're actually navigating through and why Linux is organized the way it is. In our next session, we're going to dive into the Linux file system structure. We'll explore the root directory and what sits directly beneath it. Then we'll examine critical directories like home, etc., var, and usr, understanding what each one is actually for. Finally, we'll learn where Linux stores applications, configuration files, and system logs. This knowledge will transform how you work with Linux, because you'll understand the logic behind the organization.